So on Friday, I was on TV talking about Bafana Bafana, and I predicted that they were going to lose the game against Egypt. On Saturday, you were on TV 2 times, and you insisted that Bafana Bafana had a new leash on life. They had a good chance of being able to go through to the next round. What informed...
Well, let's say they give themselves a leash life because they qualify. Nobody qualified.
Of course. What informed your bravery? Because I thought that was brave because of our history of knowing the national team and their history of disappointing South Africans. What informed your prediction to say that Bafana Bafana had a chance against Egypt?
You know, we watch every single game. This is good. We watch South Africa playing, we watch other teams playing. The first prediction, just to believe that South Africa will be good enough against Egypt, came from 2 reasons. Number one, we got our defense right. If there is something that South Africa is good at the moment, it is defense. We got our defense right from the qualifier to now. So knowing that if you are not trailing, you have a big chance for you to do well in a knockout phase. That was number one. Number two, I watched Uganda playing against the host nation, which is Egypt. And I know Uganda does not have better player than South Africa. And I saw what Uganda did against Egypt.
Even in Zimbabwe, the opening game of the tournament against Zimbabwe, at times, they looked nervous. Egypt looked nervous at times in that very first game.
It is very difficult to say. Zimbabwe got good players.
Absolutely.
The Zimbabwe, South Africa, the players' level is almost the same.
Yeah, they're similar.
But Uganda, they are not the same level as South Africa.
But still, Egypt struggles.
So those 2 things made me believe by changing just a little bit and being a little bit forward thinking, whereby defensively minded, South Africa would have done well. So I knew that long ago.
Yeah, so South Africa won 1-0 against Egypt. And it was a massive result for Bafana Bafana, and it was an epic night for South Africans overall because we eliminated the hosts of the African Cup of Nations. I am Nkululeko Nkewu, he is Chris Bongo. We are, of course, sought after voices in South African football when we analyze in different media forms. Thembinkosi Lorch.
Yeah.
There was so much pressure for Coach Stuart Baxter to pick him.
We assume that there were pressure on Stuart Baxter.
Well, there were a lot of voices stemming from the country to pick Thembinkosi Lorch. You have a habit that I really, really like, and I assume that habit. I want a coach to hang himself with his own rope.
Yes.
I will never tell him who to select.
Exactly.
We've had a history of South African-based players who are demanded for the national team, but they don't really perform.
Don't do well.
Their top goal scorers, Moeketsi Sikola, Richard
Skosana.
Skosana as well was not a major South African national team player, although he was a very good club player. What did you make of Lorch's performance? Because ultimately, it won the game for Bafana Bafana. The goal, at least.
You know, it is amazing in football. We always remember the guy who scored. Lorch's goal supposed to be scored. In the position that he was, the pass that he got from Mothiba, he had to score. He made a beautiful run. By the way, South African best player. So you can assume and expect him to make those kind of runs. So it was good. However, the coach had in his mind, I selected 23 players. They should all be good. We saw Kit played, we saw William play. The performance of Lorch, overall, it was a very good introduction. He gave us some pace, he gave us some kind of creativity. He took the ball away from Pesitao, which it was all good. However, I still stand for the coach. I still believe the coach have to do what the coach have to do. People don't understand. Being a leader as a coach is not only about your position. It is taking care of those who are under you. So we don't know in the training how coach saw the body language of Lorch. We don't know all those stuff because we are not viewed to that. And the coach could have said, if I put Lorch when we need defensive game, he won't give me what I need, and then Lorch will be exposed and his career might be killed. Let me put him in the game where I need to go forward because that's what he's strong at. He did not defend yesterday. Zungu did all the work. For me...
Let's talk about the tactics yesterday. The biggest criticism has been that the coach uses 2 defensive midfielders and is too defensive in the first 3 group matches, and he almost drew or lost the game against Namibia, which he eventually won. Yesterday, he comes out with a 3-pronged midfield. Udin Furman, Kamukole Mokhocho, and Bongane Zungu. You would be forgiven to say that those are defensive options. However, in the system which he chose to use them in, those guys at multiple times were attacking.
Let's just find out why did he use them. He knew he was playing against Trezeguet, he was playing against Mo Salah. What you need to do, you need to double team often so that you don't expose your left back and the right back. So you, by playing Zungu and Mokoto, Mokoto was going back to help where Klati was, and the Zungu was helping back where Mkize is.
Yeah.
That way we did not see Mo Salah, that way we did not see Trezeguet. And then he left.
Dean Fermin, of course,
Dean Fermin was dropping it,
he
becoming
was
the fifth. When you drift in the left hand side, Dean Fermin was in the center. When you drift in the right hand side, Dean Fermin was in the
constantly
center.
in front of the defenders.
But as soon as he wins the ball and he put the ball going forward, you had Lorch who can run with the ball. You have Pesitao who can run with the ball. Mothiba's job was to be that anchor in the middle. When the ball comes, he play left.
And he did a very good job in holding up balls. It's been very, very difficult. I never thought that 3 matches would be good enough to see whether or not a striker is good. Sometimes it is enough, sometimes it's not. And I thought that keeping faith with Mothiba was very brave from Stuart Baxter's side, because people were mentioning the fact that he's tucking in his shirt, he's not a good enough striker, he doesn't have the urge and the aggression. But yesterday he showed.
France played in the World Cup and they won the World Cup with a striker who did not even have a shot on target.
Guys like Olivier Giroud, who holds up
he did not have a shot on target.
Yeah.
The whole World Cup, and they won the World Cup. You see what we need to do in football, especially in South Africa, we have to trust to learn. Unfortunately, often we take our own self-belief, we project it in the national team.
Yes.
So it's not about the national team, it is about ourselves.
And of course, he came up with the assist as well. A nice pass from Ubongani Zungu, assisted then by Lebo Mothiba, and then the goal scored by Thembinkosi Lorch. You mentioned something technical about his body posture, putting his weight on his chest so that he can be able to weight perfectly that pass. So for you, what did you see when you saw him passing the ball?
That is a teachable moment. Often in South Africa, when we watch football, a player needs to control the ball dead and pass. Yesterday, what we saw is, as the ball Zungu passed it to Mothiba, Mothiba was running. He looked up, he saw his teammate is going. What he did is he put pressure on his chest down, so that when he passed the ball should not bounce, the ball should not go up, the ball will be in the flow, so that my teammate does not have to control it, just have to push it. That technique comes often through trainings, how you pass the ball. So as soon as he got the ball, because he's quite a tall boy, he leaned himself toward the ball to put the pressure on the ball to go down. It was the beautiful technique.
Sfiso Shanti spoke to the media before that game, and he said that he believes in himself. He's not scared of anyone, and that he can do better. And of course, when you were tactically analyzing Bafana Bafana, you mentioned him as a weakest link, and rightfully so, because his crossing has been poor, always hitting the first man in front of him or over hitting it. However, and yesterday there was a scary moment where he got a yellow card very early on, and I was worried. I was like, in my head, I was like, please put Innocent Mayela. Please put Innocent Mayela, because you're marking Mo Salah and you are under severe pressure. However, excellent performance from him.
No, we saw that immediately. When he got the yellow card, you can see it was on the 44th minute, and they went to a change. When we come back, we knew that it would be a problem, because that's where Mo Salah would go. But the intelligence was, he did not mark Mo Salah anyway, give him a distance. He was tight on him, so that once Mo Salah gets the ball, he can win it quickly without tackling him. And anticipating well. And he left Mo Salah, when Mo Salah make a small run, he was faster than Mo Salah.
They're always he was always winning some sprints against Mo Salah.
Once again came. He had all that ambition of crossing the ball. All his crosses were poor.
Absolutely.
Not beating the first man. And when they win the ball is played where he was. So each time he got the ball, the idea was, don't cross it, pass the ball, go back to your position. So it is just a question of a discipline. And is Clancy a good player? Of course he's a good player. Throughout the qualifying,
I think the most important thing is that the balance of that back four is that these guys understand each other. Hlanti, Hlatshwayo, and Mkwanazi are teammates at Pittsburgh, and Utamsang Mkize
and they won the league.
They won the league, of course, 2 years ago.
With that defense.
And we qualified with that defense. With Darren Kidd behind them. Utamsang Mkize is growing in strength as a Bafana Bafana keeper. Quickly though, as a Bafana Bafana right back, let's look then forward. We have Nigeria Nigeria in the next round, and Nigeria defeated Cameroon in a lovely game, 3-2.
Physical.
Now, my fear is that these players, especially for them, we as the analysts, we as the Patriots, we are allowed to over-celebrate sometimes because we don't have to play the game. What's your fear with regards to these guys telling themselves that they've already won the final by defeating the hosts?
I don't think they will think that way. I'll tell you why. I saw on the bench, as soon as the goal scored, people don't realize because it is a background. Mark Fish is there.
Yeah.
He has been there, he's done it all.
Andre Aronson
was there. So let's go back. As soon as that goal scored, don't look at the coach. Look at those two guys, what they did. They stood up immediately. They tell the players, focus. Focus, because we know what this means. This means your pressure now is bigger. Remember, Bafana Bafana went in this game. Many people did not believe in them.
Rightfully so.
What does it do? It takes the pressure out of you. Even if we lose, nobody, people expect this.
Sure.
By winning, you brought out the nation. Now you have to.
Now there's a level of expectation. They played Nigeria in the qualifiers 2 times. First game,
forget that.
We won 2-0. Of course, we need to contextualize it.
We need to
contextualize it. You won 2-0 in the first game, and then the other game it was 1-1. But Nigeria scored 2 goals.
Let me tell you something that we haven't realized. We played Egypt in the last game. The temperature was only 32 degrees. The game against Nigeria, we would play it maybe earlier. Which means the temperature might be higher, right? When you watch Nigeria play against Cameroon, besides the creativity that happened, it was a physical game. It was man-to-man game. You look at Cameroon's goal, you look at Nigerian goal, it was physical game. What we have to do at the moment, which we will come back and talk about the Nigeria game, let the boy go and rest. And don't be surprised if Lorch does not start.
The last match that we played against Nigeria, that's where I was going with this.
It was
1-1. It was an assist, a very good assist by
they were already qualified.
Percy Tau assisted Lebo Mothiba. What I'm trying to say is that these guys are familiar. Buhla Mkhwanazi scored an own goal in that game. The back four was the same. The front line was the same.
Bad game.
Of course, yes. But where I'm going is
familiarity.
These guys are familiar with us. They know us. These were 2 goals that were ruled out as offside, but they were not really offside.
Let's talk about that. We can safely say, I'm not saying this is the world beater squad, but we can safely say this is the longer squad that South Africa had, a group of players together, performing all the time together. That is a good thing. Number 2, 75% of South African players currently playing in Bafana Bafana, whichever club they play for, they do perform.
Yeah, and they are starters. They are starters. All right, as we wrap up, and thank you very much for watching us. Myself, Nkululeko, Nkewu, and Chris Bongo, of course, the most recognizable face in South African football. As we wrap up, there will be consequences with Egypt, consequences from a fan's perspective. Fans will no longer be interested in coming to the game. There will be consequences with the association as well. Perhaps it could be disbanded. What do we know historically? What usually happens with Egypt? I know that they disbanded even their national team 7 or 8 years ago. They played under 23s because of a non-performance. What do you think is going to be the spillover from this now?
Based on the achievement of Egypt, their life in football, it is about performance. Egyptian football went through a tough time during the Arab Spring. This African Cup of Nations was to bring the normalization. Being beaten at home in African Cup of Nations without them reaching their target, which was the final. The expectation is they will be disbanded, not on the national team. The national team might survive, but the organization will go.
Administrators within the association.
They need a new, fresh coming. They miss many things. In the World Cup, they get out in the first round. African Cup of Nations, they only managed to get in the quaterfinal and get eliminated. They need a fresh start. And they've got a new team that is started, which is called Pyramid. They're in top 3. So we'll see a lot of changes. My expectation is they will disband their All FA like they did when they did not make it to the next stage in 2004. And guess what happened later? That's what you have to look at.
Yeah, because of course 2006 they win, 2008 they win, 2010 they win. 3 times back to back from that period after disbanding the national team. So they are a country that has a history of making the rash decisions, harsh decisions sometimes, but sometimes they work out.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll catch you then in the aftermath of the Bafana Bafana versus Nigeria game. We'll look forward to that. Of course, we'll also look forward to some of the fixtures that are currently taking place in the last 16. So we'll chat then. Thank you very much for being with us.